Well, welcome. Today we're here at Nokomis Forge again. Today we're going to be talking about the Big 8. If you want to be a blacksmith, there's 8 things you have to be able to do proficiently. The first one's tapering, then spreading, upsetting, punching, twisting, bending, cutting, and welding. Once you've mastered those 8 techniques, you're only limited by your own imagination. I have gotten requests to do this with multiple camera angles, but since I'm solo again, I will just go ahead and move things around and we'll have to go from there. So you can see basically technique and other things. Okay, first with tapering, there's basically 3 types of tapering. This is a one-sided taper, and you would use it to make a hinge or a chisel. And again, you're only limited by your own imagination. The second taper is a 2-sided taper, either short or long. Again, you can make pickets on a fence or a chisel out of it as well. And the fourth type, the third type, is a 4-sided chisel taper. Can start, all these you can use for anything from scrolls to making tools, so they all come out to be very useful and efficient things. So let's start off. I'm going to do a 4-sided taper, and what I recommend with any taper or anything that you're doing, start with your metal on an angle. Work from the edge, turn, back, and for this we're just going to do a medium length taper. The next thing I do, and that's basically it. You clean it up a little bit, make sure it's square and even in the center of the bar. Very quick, very simple. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a second taper, but I'm only going to do it on 2 sides. And basically what that's done is it's given you a nice little step in there. What I'm going to do is reheat now. And while we're letting that reheat, I will go to the next thing. On this we're going to use this piece of metal and we're going to upset this piece of metal. Basically what you're doing is you're taking your piece of stock, you're hitting it on the end, and you're making it wider. And we'll stick this back into the fire and we'll reheat it and we'll rework it in just a minute. Back to the tapered piece. As you saw, I turned it 2 hits, turned it 90 degrees, 2 more hits. Now that's a setup for a couple different things. The first one is for a pair of tongs. That's the same technique you use. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this down, and using the toe of the hammer I'm going to draw it back to me. Using the heel of the hammer I'm going to push it away from me, going back and forth. just to find the point a little bit more. So that's what that's given me is a spade or an arrowhead or a leaf. So now we've done two. We've tapered it and then we've spread it. The next thing, that upset piece is still heating, we'll go to punching. Basically, you take your piece of stock, you put it into on your anvil. I have a nice chain that helps me hold it down, and I take that piece of metal and I line up my punch and drive it down in. Once I feel the punch, you'll get a feel for it. You'll feel it bottom out and you'll see a nice little shine on the other side that tells you right where to go to drive through over the Pritchett hole. One little tap. There's the punch. Punched with a round punch. And I have a nice hole in my bar stock, which could be used for any number of things that you want to make. Simple, effective. And what's left over is called the biscuit. Many a biscuit has been the bane of a barefoot boy, is how the little ditty goes. They would fall on the floor in the blacksmith shop, and some kid barefooted would go and step on it. Wouldn't be a good thing for their day. Back to the piece that I'm upsetting. I want to take my watering can and isolate the heat. So I brought the heat all down to one small little section. And now we can straighten this out. And this now went from 1/2 inch to about 5/8. And that's, you know, we're starting to bulge out and spread the end of it. We'll heat it up. You have to work at heating, at spreading. I mean, upsetting. The next thing is to twist a piece of metal. So here's a piece of metal. We're going to put it in the vise. I always like to put mine in horizontally, because what that does is it allows me to keep an eye on what I'm working on. And with a twisting wrench, bring it around. You decide how many turns you want it to be. Wire brush the scale off of it. So that's a basic twist. So out of the 8 again, we've tapered, we've spread, we've upset, we've punched a hole in it, and we've twisted it. Go ahead and upset this a little bit more. Sometimes you want to make like a little leg at the end of a table or a chair, so you want that to be thicker than the parent metal you're working with, and that's upsetting. The next thing is to bend a piece of metal. Now I'll go ahead and do another taper on this. we've done our taper. Now off the anvil, we start working our way back. Into a scroll. And there we have a bend. Okay. Next thing is to cut. I'm going to do a couple cuts here because I want to be able to get some pieces of metal hot. The first cut that we're going to do, take a second to heat this up. So we want to take a hot cut. And we want to work right down the middle. Don't want to get that too hot. I like to bring it down to where I get the first little bit that kind of cuts through. Nice thing about using this type of striking anvil, it doesn't matter how you treat it because you can just grind the face and redo it. Another way to cut is on your harder, which is a hot cutting tool. And I'm going to cut through a little bit more than halfway. And I want to bend this over onto itself. Put borax. And I use regular old 20 Mule Team borax laundry detergent. It melts at about 600 degrees, which is flat, kind of a black color. Put it down here in Florida, it's really hot, so we need to put a couple good heavy-duty coat on it. Bring that up to temperature. Remove your hardy, always. You don't want to hit your knuckles on that because it'll open you right up. Not a pretty sight. Now we're going to finish cutting this from the other side. Once you've got it cut, I like to, in this case, I'm just going to spread it out to be like a Y using the anvil. You can reheat it, clean it up, and we want to get a good even heat on this other piece of metal because we're going to weld it together here. So cutting, it can be either in the middle, it can be at the end. You can draw off a small piece to make a tendril for a vein and add a leaf at the end. Again, you're only limited to your own imagination. So we've got cutting, bending, twisting, punching, upsetting, and tapering and spreading. Those are 7 of the 8 things. The 8th one is welding. And one of the things that I always try to tell students, and I guess Nike kind of grabbed onto it after a while, just do it. Get a piece of metal, heat it up, punch a hole in it, cut it off, punch another hole in it, cut it off, punch another hole in it. Do it 10 times, you'll get good at it. Do it 100 times, you'll find an easier way to do it. And how you manipulate that and put it together is up to you and your imagination to make what you want to make to represent you as a blacksmith. And you're going to come up with your own style and your own techniques. So we'll set these to the side so they can cool down. But you can see just in this short amount of time, I've taken and gone through the basic 8. If you master these 8 elements, you'll be able to do anything you want to do in blacksmithing. From making a hammer, to making your own tools, to making a big fence or a gate. And now we're getting up there in temp. And again, you want to work to right at the point where it's starting to spark, critical. You don't want a lot of sparks, you want just a little bit. And you want to do a nice even saturating heat. You want that heat to be completely gone through that metal from one side to the other. And basically, now those 2 pieces of metal are 1. I recommend refluxing. So when you do a project where you're going to have a piece of metal, you're going to have to do a little math and calculate how much you want to be left over with. And again, whether you can only hit 5 ways with a hammer. Flat, with the toe, with the heel, with the cheek, or with the cheek. That's all you can do. I don't care, even if it's a cross peen hammer or a ball peen. Ball peen, you're only going to be able to hit one way, and that's straight down. But a cross peen, when you hit diagonally, you can hit to that little edge of that, and there we go. And you can see there's no line in there. That's a good weld. Clean that up. And you can see, I've taken and folded it back. Again, you're only limited by your own imagination. I've covered the big 8. Master those. I can't make it easy for you. You just have to go out there and do it over and over again until you're used to doing it. But once you've learned how to do these 8 things, and you see how this is uncut, unedited, you can see how little time it took me to do them. And you know the old adage, too many irons in the fire. Well, that's not really a blacksmithing thing. That came from the laundry, because you got your irons too hot. But strike while the iron's hot, that's definitely from the blacksmithing side. So this is Trez from Nokomis Forge. Have a great day. Get it hot and just do it, man.